Okay, so without any further ado, let's go through some of these tips and we'll talk about them. The keys to having a really good relationship really are based on a couple things. Communicating well, forgiving the other person when they do completely moronic things, and having a lot of acceptance and tolerance for other people's behavior. None of us is perfect. We all do silly things. We all forget the trash day. We all forget to put the cap on the toothpaste. We all forget a lot of things. So many fights seem to start about the silliest things, right? Can anybody remember the last big fight they had with an important person in their life that was about a silly thing? Some people are nodding. Okay. Anybody brave enough to tell us what it was about?
My daughter leaving her shoes in the living room.
Okay, shoes in the living room.
10 pairs of shoes in the living room.
10 pairs of shoes. Okay.
And I have a basket, so she'll put the shoes in there, but they were outside of the basket.
Ah. So yeah, I mean, it's not like, you know, she ran over your foot with a car. Good reason to get upset. But, you know, she could have maybe aimed for the basket or something like that. Okay, my last one was my husband put the hairspray in a place I'd never find it. It's like, now why would you think to put it under the sink? Of course it has to be on top of the sink. All right. So sometimes we need to be a little bit forgiving. And that conflict was over really quickly because I used some of these tips. So the first tip, and this will seem so obvious, is to say what's on your mind. What happens when you don't tell people how you're really feeling? Anybody have an idea or a guess?
They don't have no clue.
They have no clue.
But I eat a pizza.
Okay, they'll do it again. They'll what? I heard something about pizza.
That's my answer. I eat a pizza.
Oh, you eat a
They
pizza.
don't get it. They will never get it. And so let's have a pizza.
And you know what? So many people feel that way.
Yeah.
Because if I can't solve this problem and they're just, you know, not smart enough to get it, okay, I will just do things to, you know, make myself feel better. It's completely understandable. So we can't expect people to know what we're thinking. So unless you're sitting in a psychic's office and you know, the other person, you're theoretically paying them to know what you're thinking, and by the way, I don't really believe in psychics. But, and if you find one, okay, maybe that lady who's the basis for medium, but if you find one, let me know. But your spouse, your partner, your friends, your kids are probably not psychic. So you have to say what you mean, okay, and tell them in a way they can understand. Yeah.
A lot of times when you get in those arguments, do you really know what you mean? I mean, that's a good question. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you're fighting about something, but you can't even pinpoint what you're fighting about.
Yeah.
You can't yourself, so it's an external medium to fight an internal frustration.
That's such a fabulous question, and that is really true. Oftentimes, we will pick a fight because we're angry about something else. You know, that you don't make me feel important, you don't put me first, I'm not a priority to you, you don't make me feel valued. And the way they show that is they leave the cap of the toothpaste off. We don't really care about the cap of the toothpaste, but that's what we go to World War III about, because that's an opportunity for us to say, you know, vent some of that frustration. So you have to say what you mean and really say it, okay? One of the things that I'm personally guilty of is hinting. Like right now, if my husband was here, you know what I would do? I would say, honey, are you hot? Because I'm hot, and what I want him to do is turn on the air conditioning. So that's not the best and most effective communication. Yeah, and he would turn to me and he'd say, no, I'm fine. And then I would say, okay, honey, I'm really hot in here. Would you mind running up and turning on the air conditioning? I have my hands full of the dishes or whatever's going on. So we can't hint. We have to actually say what we mean. So many of us are hinters. The third is something we already talked about. No ESP. Please don't expect somebody to read your mind. Okay, again, unless they're a psychic, that's not going to happen. So we can't wait for them to figure it out. We have to really tell them, hey, sweetheart, you know, I was in your bathroom again, and the thing is, you know, my socks are all wet, and I really love to go in there to give you a hug, but I don't feel like it's safe because I'm going to walk out with mushy socks. So would you please put this towel down, or how about if I put the towel down for you? Would that be okay? So talking about and finding a solution is very, very good. So under bullet or number 3, I give you a couple examples. Some examples of us wishing and wondering and using ESP are when we say things like, I sure wish you'd go with me. You know I don't like to go alone. This is an example of kind of hinting again at what you mean. wow, I sure wish the trash cans were out already. I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow when the trash man comes. I mean, these are some things we do. So we've got to stop that. We really need to say and be very clear about what we mean. And have you ever noticed that we spend a whole lot of time talking about what we don't want instead of what we do want? So what if we flip that around? What if we said what we wanted? Honey, please take out the trash cans instead of, I don't understand why you can't take out the trash cans. I mean, am I asking you to do something that's so impossible and so hard? Can you tell I've said that? So hard about this? Yeah, I don't know why it's so hard, but it doesn't register when like NCAA finals are on and some of these other things. So we have to give the people in our lives a pass a little bit. So and here was an example that came up recently. Saying what you don't want is, I don't want to go to that boring, stupid movie. How many of these teenager-ish movies do I have to go to? American Pie 9 is not what I want to go to. Okay? So instead of saying that, how if you said, that's interesting. You know what I'm really looking forward to going seeing is that new Anthony Hopkins thriller. I really want to see that. So focus on what you do want instead of what you don't want.